What is up, party people? NoZoupForYou here, and I am just back from TwitchCon. Had a wonderful time. Had my panel on Sunday regarding resilience and a little bit of suicide awareness. It was a very good panel. Didn't nearly have as many people in my panel as did the panel next door that was going over how to build a streaming rig. They also had a free streaming rig they were giving away. I mean, how can you compete with that, right? But it was a good time. It was a really good time. Went to VillainCon while I was there. I mean, just overall a blast. So if you've never been to a con, whether it be PAX or TwitchCon or BlizzCon or anything like that, try and get to one. They're a lot of fun. So today I'm going to talk about the USS Massachusetts, a new Tier 8 battleship that is on the horizon. But first, winner chicken dinner. We have a winner for the USS Enterprise. That's right, 2 weeks have elapsed and it is time to award it. It's going to Connor151. So congratulations, Connor. You are the winner of the USS Enterprise. I'm going to be reaching out to you via email very shortly, and I will be getting that Enterprise to you, so long as you return my email. That's not it. We're doing another giveaway. I said this video is on the USS Massachusetts, and obviously the USS Massachusetts is not out yet, but I'm going to give you the next best thing, and that's going to be the USS Alabama. So this week's giveaway, this 2 weeks giveaway, is going to be the USS Alabama. As always, details are in the video description. Check out the link there. I'm going to post it all over the place, forums, on my page, on my Twitter. So you'll be able to find that link regardless, somehow, some way. And as always, 2 weeks from now, I will draw a winner. So, next drawing, USS Alabama. But on to the Massachusetts, the new Tier 8 battleship that is currently in testing and will be making its way into the game fairly soon. First, as always, a little bit of history behind the USS Massachusetts. Battleship 59, BB-59. Interesting thing about her, she started off in the Atlantic, and a lot of people don't know, but the first 16-inch naval guns of the war were fired by the USS Massachusetts. Very cool. Now, contrary to a lot of battleships out there, the USS Massachusetts, in my opinion, made more of a name in the Atlantic theater than it did in the Pacific. Or at least I feel she did a lot more noteworthy or cool things in the Atlantic. Primarily the Battle of Casablanca and a very cool gun duel with the Vichy French battleship Jean Bart during Operation Torch. Not only that, I mean, she just became a huge pain in the rear to the French. I mean, the French absolutely have to dislike the Massachusetts, or at least the Vichy French have to absolutely dislike her, because not only did she wreak havoc on the Jean Bart, she also helped to destroy 2 French destroyers and a De Gaulle cruiser. How cool is that? So yeah, Atlantic operations for the Massachusetts went very well. Not to say she didn't do nothing in the Pacific War. She did a lot of shore bombardment. She got out there. She was there at Leyte, supporting troop movements and everything else. But not the epic ship-to-ship dueling that we like so much. In the Pacific, we all know the USS Washington is probably the one we want the most as far as ship-to-ship dueling and sinking other battleships. We don't have her yet. Maybe one day we'll get her. But again, USS Massachusetts, very interesting history. She did a lot of good stuff in the Atlantic and made life miserable for the poor Vichy French regime. So, now that you know a little bit about the history of the USS Massachusetts that you can visit in Massachusetts at Battleship Cove, along with the USS Salem, the only remaining heavy cruiser, let's talk about how she handles in game. Now, a lot of you are thinking she is a straight-up clone of the Alabama. Actually, at first, I thought she was going to be a straight-up clone of the Alabama. That is not the case. There's subtle differences between these two ships that you need to pay attention to, and that might tip you one way or another into purchasing this ship over the Alabama. So, let's get down to the brass tacks, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, and take a close look at the teak floor, so to speak. I'm just going to really run through some of the differences right now between the USS Massachusetts and her South Dakota sibling, Alabama. First and foremost, there AA is different. Massachusetts has a slight advantage. She has a base 77% in anti-aircraft capability, whereas the Alabama only has 75%. This is attributed to mid-range anti-aircraft capabilities on the Massachusetts, so she has a little bit more AA protection there. That's kind of a bonus. That's a good thing, right? So she's a little closer in line with the North Carolina. Her gun range is another significant difference right there between her and the Alabama. 23.5 kilometers. The Alabama only has 21.1 kilometers, so that's a fairly significant range difference right there. Concealment, base concealment, this is one thing that the Massachusetts does not win over the Alabama. Base concealment, 16.6 kilometers. The Alabama slightly better at 16.2 base concealment. Hit points, again, interestingly enough, Massachusetts wins here, 66,300 to the Alabama 63,300. Now again, these are both South Dakota class battleships. Very interesting that there's such, I wouldn't say huge differences, but the differences are there nonetheless. Massachusetts has an 82% armor protection rating, whereas the Alabama, again, 79%. Not a huge difference, but a difference nonetheless. As far as maneuverability, they have the same top speed. However, Massachusetts, while it has the same 710 meter turning radius as the Alabama, does not quite have the 15.3 second rudder shift that the Alabama has. Massachusetts lags slightly behind at 15.7 seconds. Whether that makes a huge difference, I don't know. And that is the question. That is the question with the USS Massachusetts. Do these differences make a huge difference? Now, I'm going to admit, while I was playing the Massachusetts, I was blessed by matchmaking with absolutely horrendous matchmaking. It seemed like every single round I played in, I was up against 3 Montanas or multiple Tier 10 battleships. I rarely got to see the Massachusetts in its full glory, though, while I was playing her, I did enjoy her. And the interesting thing about her is, to me, at least to me, she felt a lot more North Carolina-like than Alabama-like. She felt a lot more North Carolina class than South Dakota class, which I found interesting. She still has those awesome 16-inch guns that can inflict damage against just about every other battleship, minus the Yamato. You'll have some trouble against Yamato, everyone does. But against Montanas, yes, you can still Citadel the Montana, even at funny angles every now and then. I managed to do that. Your anti-aircraft guns are good, even decent against Tier 10 aircraft carriers, though you will have a little bit of trouble against them. Obviously, Tier 8 is always going to struggle against Tier 10, but the Alabama can... Look what I did. But the Massachusetts can do its own. I know a little Freudian slip right there. The Alabama, of course, they are sister ships, so that mistake is easy to make. But yes, the Massachusetts can hold its own, and it is a lot of fun. And I'm thinking now, did I say Alabama when I meant Massachusetts and other places in this? Oh well. You know, they are sister ships, but they are not clones, and that is the driving point right here. They are not clones whatsoever, and honestly, the Massachusetts has a slight edge over the Alabama, which I think is very interesting. I don't know why Wargaming made such a huge difference between these two ships, because they are subtle, but the differences are there. Now the question is going to be whether the average player can actually feel these differences. Whether they can tell that they've got that longer range, or knowing that they have that longer range, can they capitalize off of it? Can they capitalize off the slightly better mid-range anti-aircraft capabilities? Can they capitalize off that damage? Does that 3,000 hit points make a huge difference? So to the average player or the historical collector, it's really going to come down to what ship's available and whether you like the Alabama more or the Massachusetts more. I imagine if you're a Southerner and you come from the South, you might want the Alabama. I imagine if you're one of those Yankees up north above the Mason-Dixon line, you might want the Massachusetts. I think for many people, this ship and whether or not they buy this ship, it's going to come down to historical preference. Because while the Massachusetts does appear slightly better on paper, I don't think that the differences are big enough that the average player is really going to care. I think it's all going to come down to the name. Are you a Massachusetts fan or are you an Alabama fan? Outside of that though, yes, on paper the Massachusetts is a better ship than the Alabama, at least on paper. Really, it would take me a lot more rounds and playing both ships side by side to tell the difference, but to me, in casual playing, I think the Massachusetts feels very much like the North Carolina, which somewhat feels like the Alabama. I think if you like one of those ships, you're going to like them all. However, if you already have an Alabama, I don't know that I would suggest getting the Massachusetts. Unless you are a die-hard fan and you have a lot of disposable income, I think they're similar enough that you can probably play them just about the same. I mean, maybe the Massachusetts you can eke out a little more damage because of that range, and you know, that anti-aircraft capability might protect you a little more, but I don't think the differences are huge enough. I don't think they're huge enough that it would warrant needing the Massachusetts if you already have the Alabama. So I'm going to say right there, you know, the Alabama is a very fun ship. I enjoyed a lot. The Massachusetts is a very fun ship. I enjoyed a lot. North Carolina is a great ship. All three of them are. If you need a premium and you don't have the Alabama, it's pretty much probably going to come down to what's available. If you thought you wanted the Alabama and you never purchased it, I would go ahead and get the Massachusetts. If you already have the Alabama, I might not, just because they are so similar, despite the Massachusetts being slightly better. The one remaining question is, and I haven't seen an answer to it yet, is how is this premium going to become available? Are they just going to sell it outright, or are they going to offer it in some kind of XP type of deal? We don't know yet. We just don't. So, USS Massachusetts, not a clone! South Dakota, and I mean, it even looks different. The funnel looks different. So there are subtle differences in how it looks, and there are definite differences in its statistics and its attributes. So, again, that's my take on the Massachusetts. As more comes out regarding it, I will present you more. Got a lot of ships around that I got to review and give you information on. We've got the Vampire. We've got the Kid, which is a completely different destroyer and one that I think should be on your radar. I'll get to that next, hopefully. At any rate, guys and gals, thanks for watching. Hope you're having a great week, and I will talk to you all later. I am out.